So last time we were just in a closing conversation. We had
Yes.
a reference to a movie and a theater by Dr. Baba Kare. So when we say movie and theater, there are few factors involved. Basically, I want to see the movie. So a desirer, the person who wants to watch the movie, is the first factor. The second one is the theater itself. The theater is a total system, arrangement, administration, management, etc., which manages to accommodate the viewers, to project the show, and all the systems that are related to that, so that the customer can watch the movie, right? So the first thing is the theater, which is already there, provided before even the viewer could go and visit the theater. Then the second one is the customer who wants to view the movie. Then the third factor is that the customer has a reserved seat. He has his own seat. So he has already booked that. These points are worth reflecting. The next factor would be that to see the movie, a darkness is required. So when the movie starts, just before the movie starts, all lights in the theaters will be put off. Then
Yes.
this darkness is the background on which the movie can be seen. The next one would be the screen itself. When the customer takes his seat, he sees the screen in front, which is white, clean, without any movie. So he is posing himself to see the movie. He has seen the screen without movie, and now he is waiting for movie to start. Now, the next one is the light of the projector must be on. So the projector is on, the light will pass through. The next one is the film. Now the film in front of the light will get unwind, or it will get unrolled, you can say. It will open up before the light, and this film will be projected on the screen by the light, right? So now see how many factors. Starting with the, now we'll cut short to this, that there is a projector having a light and the film. Then there is a screen to project the film. Then there is a viewer of the film who is in his own seat. And this, when the light is on, the movie goes on. Now this is the idea that basically the screen is white. But when the light passes through the film has different color shades, and accordingly, wherever the film is colorless, the light passes through as it is, and the screen, white area of the screen can be seen. And according to the colors on the film, the light will get different on as projected on the screen. Now what happens is, we'll quickly come back to equate the parallels. The whole world is a projection by the master.
True.
But this world is never perceived as it is. So each individual is given provided a projector. The projector means there is an existence, I, and there is consciousness. I am, and I know that I am. So this Satchid Atma, the self, is already there in each one of us. Now the Chit or the consciousness aspect is available as illumination available which reflects in the intellect. Now the reflected light of the intellect, we call it as intelligence. The intelligence offers its own light. Intelligence is the reflection of the consciousness, light of consciousness that is reflecting in the intellect. The reflection is called as intelligence. The intelligence has its own reflected light, which illumines all the ideas that we have. The thoughts and the ideas that we have has its origin in our own vasanas. Now, the film in front represents our prarabdha or destiny. The film of our prarabdha gets unwound in front of the intelligence, the light. And this prarabdha is projected on the screen. Now, screen by system has its own world. The totality also is a big projector, a master projector who has projected the world. This world is of essentially of some elements like 5 great elements: mind, intellect, and ego, I. These 8 together is called Ashtada Prakriti. These are the 8 important elements, and these are the creation of the master. So he has already created the world. But this world is never seen as it is. It is seen as interpreted by every individual projector. The individual on his own, due to his prarabdha film, is projecting it on the common screen. And his reading of the world would be according to what is projected by him as a film or prarabdha. Therefore, he interprets the world according to his own colors and his own film. Therefore, the world being same, the entire world is common to all, it is same, still it is read individually, differently. This is because of each individual is projecting his own ideas upon the world and sees the world as colored by his perception. Therefore, the individual is now defined, you know the definition very well. The individual is called Jiva, Jivo Janati. The individual is conscious of the world and therefore perceives the world, knows the world. Then Ichchati, he desires for what he perceives, and then to fulfill the desire, he has to put forth effort. Yatate, Janati, Ichchati, Yatate cha. So this is what the Jiva's attempt is, to perceive the world, to desire the perceived, and put forth efforts to fulfill the desire. So this show is going on. Now, since whatever is seen on the screen is not really factual or real, but it is only an apparent image. The image and what all the details shown in the image, whether it is the entire story, life story of some family, or it's only a warfare, whatever is being projected on the screen is actually projection of the individual, and this projection, by seeing this projection, he takes the projection as real and then comes to laugh and weep along with what is going on the screen. Therefore, he identifies with the hero of the scene, and he weeps when the hero weeps, and he gets angry when the villain comes there. Likewise, he identifies with the world that is projected on the screen, which is simply imaginary, and it has no reality at all. So this unreal projection is accepted by the viewer because of his mistake of identification. He takes the movie as real, projection as real, and identifies with it. And therefore, if there is sorrowful event, he starts weeping. If there is a fearful event, he gets shocked. So all this happens. When it goes to the extreme sorrow, extreme fear, then he gets so much shock, and then he comes to senses, and to come back to his normal position, he just sit up and adjust his seat and relaxes, thereby declutch himself from the movie. So this mistake of identification with what is being projected causes sorrow and happiness and various types of experiences. The point is that movie may go on because the whole system I have not created. The theater is already there. The outer world is already the projection of the Brahmaji, already there. Now I've been also given, provided the projector, the existence and the intelligence. And with this intelligence reflected in my intellect, gives me the intelligence to know what is being perceived. So I perceive and understand, then I desire for the perceived, and then I act to fulfill the desire. Now this is going on, and the individual is caught up in this show. Now, if only I fall back to my source as immediately, step by step, intelligence, the light, the illumination I am. But the illumination is illuminating the images and identifies with the images, which takes him down to mind and the sense organs, and then he goes out and projects those images as his world and gets identified with the happenings in the world. So this is going on. My attention has been already drawn out. Now, if I have to save from the welter of change, as we did yesterday, and to save oneself from the sorrows and sufferings, then what he has to do is don't disturb the screen, don't disturb the movie, let the movie go on, let the show go on. What you do is withdraw yourself for the time being to know who is the viewer. I am watching the movie, all right, but who is this I? I'll fall back to the perceiver I, then I'll go back to the feeler I, then I'll go back to the thinker I with concepts, ideas. And when I come to the thinker I, it is the thought that makes me a thinker. A thinker thinks the thought. Now I watch the thought. The thought I am able to see because it is illuminated. This is a critical point. A thought I am able to perceive, I am conscious of, because it is illuminated by the light of consciousness. Here is the critical point. I have to shift my attention from the thought of the world to the light. I don't have to go anywhere. Looking at the thought, I could be aware of the light that illumines the thought. This is a very important point, and we must hold on our attention to this only. This is called technically as Prakasha and Vimarsha. Prakasha is the light of consciousness. Vimarsha is thought. So these are the two dual. These are the two sacred feet of the Lord in our heart. There is a thought, sankalpa, which comes from vasana. and there is a light which comes from consciousness. These two together come and draw my attention. When I identify with the thought, then I am pulled out through feelings, sankalpa, then through perception, I reach the outer world. And then the drama or the show starts. I join the show, I'm involved in the show, then I suffered from the show, and this is going on. And I conclude on life that life is like that only, that we get hurted here and there, now and then. So all these ideas or interpretations are wrong because we have taken the projection as real. This is the point. So now what we have to do is, as our discussion on real and unreal, we have to see the source of the real. How to start with is come to the subtlest level of thinker and the thought. There, if the thought of the world you handle, then there are every possibility and more chances to go back to the world. We don't want to go back to the world. At present, we are withdrawing within ourselves. Therefore, a thought of the self, whatever we have studied, we are chanting some stotras like Pratasmarana Stotra, Pratasmarami, etc. So, thought of the self will be useful. Now, the thought of the self as whatever you know as Brahman, as Atman, as Satchidananda, whatever is your so far understanding of the self, bring that in your mind, the thought of the self. And while just contemplating, reflecting upon the thought of the self, slowly, when you get acquainted with the thought, now you don't have to give any special attention. Now shift your attention to the light aspect of the thought. It is the light that illumines the thought. So between the thought and illumination, it is light which is responsible. If light is there, the thought may be perceived. If light is not there, even if the thought exists, who knows whether it exists? If something exists, it should be experienced by me. If I don't experience anything, it means nothing exists. So, what exists is illumination or the light. So, light alone is the reality. In my life, this light may illumine the presence of thought, it may illumine the absence of thought. Whether thought is present or absent, since it is changing, it is unreal or apparent, while the light continuously is on. The screen is continuously existing. The light and the screen stand for consciousness and existence, respectively. The screen is existence eternal, the substratum. Light is consciousness. With this help, Sat and Chit, the self becomes the world. So with the screen to receive the projection and offer it as a substratum for the projection, and the light which will project the ideas vasanas are having onto the screen. These two, without light and the screen, the projection is impossible. And whatever we project, we know it is only imaginary, it is only apparent, not real. So if I know behind the movie there is an unchanging screen, and before the film there is a continuous light, and further, if I know that I am this existence consciousness self, thereafter, whether the show is going on or not, I am not at all concerned. For me, it is a great joke. It is called Vichitra Vishwa. So this Vichitra is for the ego or the individual who sees so many things which are opposite to each other. Now he sees the sorrow, now he sees happiness, now success and failure, now disappointment. He goes on getting tossed himself by the different kinds of experiences. That is because he is not aware of his own self. So he already got lost in the movie or the world. So now the only way is the scriptures tell us the way out. The teacher explains to us how to come out of it. And the way is only Vichara Sadhana, an inquiry. Who is this watcher? I'm watching the film and getting affected by the happenings in the film movie. So sometimes I laugh with the hero, sometimes I weep with the hero, sometimes I'm angry with the villain, and I get involved into it, and unnecessarily I get the suffering. So we pay for the film, get inside with the hope of entertainment, and we weep there. See, what is the idea? What do we get out of it? So here we must think, why should I get affected by the movie? Now this question is, the master has created this movie. So here, the one who has realized his true nature as the existence consciousness is a mastermind. For him, the world is a joke. He knows that he has not created the world. He knows that there is someone who projected the world, and he is not much concerned at all of whatever that master is projecting the world and doing it. He allows himself as a member of the universe to allow himself by the laws that the creator has made in order to continue the show. And this mastermind, the realized person, doesn't mind coming under the laws of the world or the laws of the Lord. In fact, the Lord is available in the world in the form of laws. And this man happily comes under the laws of the Lord and still remain independent of any bindings that are apparent with the movie and the world. He stays peaceful, he stays blissful, and nothing in the world can shake him. This is such a great status that he gets. Thereafterwards, he has no complaint about the world at all. He observes the world, he recognizes the things going on, but the validity of the world is given by each individual to the world, and therefore collectively we find the world is real, and he accepts the apparent nature of the world and allows the things to happen without interfering, but himself doesn't get involved into it. And then the only thing that he can do is, and he is very spontaneously available to do, is to you can say decondition the individuals of their ignorance by giving them the knowledge of the self. When the individual listens to that, his job is over. What is required is, what is important here is to understand that the life or the world as it is seen is not real. But the world, the movie, as a substratum or the screen, it is an absolute existence that really allows by grace the relative existence of the world. And this relative existence of the world is validated for the individual to exhaust his vasanas through projecting his world of vasanas onto the common world and experiences of suffering or joys, and exhaust all these vasanas so that he becomes one with the Lord. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ हरि ओम।